There are more than 1,000 islands in the St. Lawrence River. Their beauty and legends have fascinated people for centuries. They're best explored from the air or from the water. The countless chunks of rock are small miracles of nature. Thousand Islands is the name given to one of the most impressive regions in the north of the American continent, in the border region between the United States and Canada, in the middle of the St. Lawrence River. The small port of Canoe has been busy since the early hours of the morning. "200 anglers from all over North America have come to participate in the region's biggest fishing competition, the Big Bass Challenge, organized by Gary Fisher, the competition president.
We're going to have a blast off in here in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes at 5:30 for the little boats, and then at 6 o'clock for the big boats. We're just checking live wells right now, making sure everybody's registered in, and we're gonna get everything rocking and having a good day, and the big finale days today.
For 2 days, the anglers will compete to get the biggest bass out of the water. They're paying $60 to participate. When the local tourism office decided 5 years ago to set up this competition, it was rapidly clear who was to run it.
Hey, give her, guys, go, 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 go! I feel pumped up today. I can't wait to give out the prizes. These guys know that I would rather be out fishing than sitting here just watching them take off.
Yeah, but Gary, we need you to organize and run this for us. But somebody has to do it.
That's the way it all happens.
Exactly.
Right,
Gary's a passionate angler, but today he's only handing out prizes. There's one winner every hour and $500. At the end of the competition, there's a main winner for the biggest catch of the weekend.
I'm very proud to do this. I like I say, it's the love of the sport, the love of doing something for my community, being respected. I can walk down the street and everyone's, "Hi Gary, hi Gary, hi Gary." And it's really good. I love it.
The first anglers have already returned after half an hour. As soon as it gets light, the first fish come and bite. Every boat keeps a special container for all the catch. They can only hand over live bass. It's the scales that decide what fish are among the winners. It's going to be busy. 419 fish are caught, assessed, weighed and registered this weekend, before being released again at the end.
We don't eat the fish because of species being extinct and all that now. Now we take it to conserve it. So when I catch that fish in the water, I will catch it, look at it, weigh it, whatever, but I want to see that fish for my grandson right there to catch it. If it's this big now, when he catches it, it'll be this big. That's why we never eat the fish anymore.
The Thousand Islands National Park, a few kilometers downriver, is fighting to ensure that there'll be many fish here in the future too. Canada's oldest national park encompasses 21 islands, and at 24 square kilometers, it's one of the smallest but also one of the most species-rich. To make sure it stays that way, 29 rangers are taking care of more than 40 threatened plant and animal species.
I consider myself a partial fish nerd, and I think one of the unique things that this area has, it has the highest fish diversity of any part of Canada. So in terms of the freshwater fish, there are over 100 species. Just sort of out in this area here, you could probably find 25 to 30 species just around us here. It's due to the diversity in habitats, the deep water, the shallows, the wetlands. All those things create unique opportunities. And I think one of the things that challenges we have to do with all these different sort of fish species, we want to ensure that all that diversity and richness stays forever.
To do that, they check the fish population in specific locations in the St. Lawrence River several times a year, and they've done that for more than 10 years now. This gives them an overview of how the individual fish species are developing and how endangered they are.
Just in this net alone, we probably had 5 species. This guy's a brook silverside. Looks like it's more of an ocean fish, and they generally swim close to the surface, like a pelagic saltwater fish. So that's kind of neat. And these little guys, they're the banded killifish, so they're good numbers. They're a popular thing for bigger fish to eat, and they're throughout the river.
Every fish species is documented by size and number.
Okay, so yellow perch, 115, 121.
They pay particularly close attention to non-native species that have migrated here, such as the round goby. Larger fish won't eat it because it tastes disgusting. In the past, the rangers often had up to 12 of them in one such net.
We only got one in that net, which was surprising. They've come over in the ballast water from big ships. They come across the Atlantic, they release that water, and fish like the round goby and other species have found their way into these ecosystems. Some species aren't really a problem. The round goby has been a big problem for this ecosystem. The smaller fish that are similar to the goby that are native to here, the darters and species like that, they seem to be getting displaced just because gobies are doing so well here. They're breeding 4 or 5 times a year, whereas native fish usually once or twice. So they've, in the period of about 10 years, they've become one of the most dominant species in the river, and unfortunately we still don't know what the impact's going to be.
In order to protect the unique flora and fauna, as well as the endangered tree population on their 21 islands, the rangers act as arsonists. Derek and Josh are preparing a controlled fire for the pitch pine on Camelot Island.
This site here, we had to come in. We started last fall, and we did a lot of cutting. We cut out competing tree species to allow the light to hit the forest floor and to add forest fuels to the forest floor where we need to create that fire intensity to enable pitch pine to grow.
That's best done in the ash that's rich in mineral nutrients. In the past, there were many natural fires. Today, there are hardly any.
The pitch pine is unique in the area. It's the only national park in Canada that has pitch pine. It's at the northern edge of its range, so it's typically found in a lot further south in the United States, but here it holds on to the edges, and those species that are at the edges often hold the genetic diversity that will be needed as potentially climates change, as insect infestations come in, as invasive species come in. That genetic diversity is at the edge of a range of a species like pitch pine is very important to protect.
An ideal place to understand the biodiversity of the region is above Landon Bay, at the heart of the Thousand Islands. Don Ross from the Frontenac Arch Biosphere Reserve doesn't just have the best overview from here. He's also standing on the Earth's oldest rock, granite that's billions of years old.
Here and there on the landscape are these rocky domes that have been really resistant to glacier ice ages and weathering over 1 billion years. And so they are the backbone that they call the bones of the mother, the First Nations, but they're also the reason that the Thousand Islands are here. Because the Thousand Islands are really just 1,000 hilltops that were the basement rocks of old mountains. And it's just a low enough point in the saddle on the Frontenac Arch here that the Lake Ontario has risen up high enough to flow across the top of the Frontenac Arch, and 1,000 hilltops become 1,000 islands.
The Frontenac Arch Biosphere is one of 18 UNESCO's biosphere reserves in Canada. Every year in the summer, the network puts on a holiday camp for children between the ages of 6 and 11.
The kids are an important part of the community. One of the reasons that we started the Biosphere Nature Camp back around about 12 years ago now, I guess, was it's a way to bring kids at a very young age into thinking more about the environment around them and where they fit in the community, and hopefully they grow into that.
The goal of the environmentalists is to awaken the children's enthusiasm for their direct surroundings. 5 different forests come together here in the reserve, creating a high level of species diversity. Don Ross wants to sensitize the children for all the tracks and clues they can find in nature.
You found it? Here it is.
That's awesome.
Look at that. You were wondering how big pieces of wood that the beaver can take off in one bite. And look at that. These are each a beaver bite. Every time that he was eating these with his teeth, he could pull off pieces even that big. Can you imagine doing that with your teeth?
No.
Yeah. Could your mom and dad do that with their teeth?
No.
No.
The anglers try to be as gentle as they can with the fish. They're weighed, then it's time for a quick photo, and then they're released back into the river. The bass are released exactly where they were caught. It's stressful for the fish, but they generally get through it without further ill effect. Only injury-free animals are released again.
This fish was brought up from really down in the water quite a bit, and they brought it up real quick. So what is his bladder swells up. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take this needle, we're going to poke him and take some air out of his bladder so he'll come up round, like come up so he's buoyant. So we're going to take this. Justin, I need a hand, please. Here, buddy.
The bass only stands a chance of survival when its bladder is working again. It gives it balance.
He's gonna flop a little bit.
Gary is a passionate fisherman and knows how to handle the fish.
There it is. There's the bubbles. There's the airbag. Do you see them bubbles coming out? Now I don't take all the bubbles out, but I take part of them out to make his bladder a little bit smaller so he can get himself upright.
Yes, he can do.
There we go. Now he'll come up right.
And then it swims again. A real winner, but not the heaviest fish of the day. That one's caught in the final hour of the competition. Gary has an inkling that this could be it. The boss wants to weigh it personally. And indeed, this bass weighs more than 6 pounds. No other fish weighed more this weekend. After the photo op, it's time to receive the award right away.
Again, we lost 0 fish because of you guys taking care of all of them.
All Gary gets is honor, but the winner gets a check, $3,000 for the competition's heaviest fish. It's the next morning. This region doesn't have much industry. Besides tourism, agriculture is an important economic factor here. 50 kilometers from Gananoque, Chris and Mary Wooding run a small organic farm. Five years ago, the 54-year-old gave up his job as a computer system analyst.
The main reason I started working as a farmer, there were 2 things that happened. One, the telecommunications business wasn't doing good in the world, so I wanted to try and do things that bettered the world. And the other reason is we planted a large vegetable garden to try and feed ourselves, and we ended up way overplanting and started going to farmers markets to sell everything.
Demand for his products is growing steadily. He recently started employing a few helpers for the summer months, during which he has a lot more work. His wife Mary helps too, but her day job is for the provincial government in Kingston. The seeds he uses are special. They're the same ones the first settlers used on their fields.
They date from the late 1700s to maybe 1920. And then most of the modern cereals are post-World War II and are part of the Green Revolution. So they need the fertilizers, they're high yielding, they're dwarf now. And one of the reasons we grow the heritage grains is the wheat in particular is a hexaploid wheat, so there's redundant chromosomes. And because of that, the grain bioadapts and changes over time as you save the seed. So it literally becomes your seed and it likes your climate, your degree days, your soils, and it becomes stronger and more disease resistant. And over time, in principle, we're building a stronger, healthier genetic resource.
The yield is a mere 30% of modern cereal crops, but it tastes better and contains more proteins and nutrients. In the 200-year-old mill in Delta, he grinds the grain in the traditional manner. Without additives, they taste a little different every year, depending on the climate, the soil, and the plant constitution. Gananoque is just 40 kilometers away. Chris delivers his unground grain to the small local brewery here. Master brewer Eric wants to use it for a very special beer. Beer, the kind that the first settlers drank, except that it's made under hygienic conditions. Nevertheless, it tastes a little bit different every time.
There are different characteristics to the grain. There's different characteristics to even commercial grain. We're experiencing that to an extreme degree with Chris Whitting's grain. So it's very much different than anything I've used. To use Ironwood Organics Red Fife wheat, we're adding a different color or a different flavor compound, and it ultimately creates a different beer. I like to call it the taste of Gananoque. It's a local flavor that you can only get here in Gananoque.
Every Thursday during the summer months, between 4 and 7 o'clock, there's a farmer's market opposite the brewery. A place to come and catch up on the news and gossip in the region. Farmers from the local area, such as Chris Wooding, sell their goods here. Harold Mix is particularly pleased about the German tourists. He sells his bison meat here. After 35 years on the Thousand Islands, he couldn't imagine returning to Germany.
It's not so overpopulated. It's more laid back. People have more time. It's more relaxed. I like it a lot here. I wouldn't want to go back.
15 kilometers outside of Gananoque, he runs his 60-hectare bison farm, along his job as a teacher at a vocational college. In 1992, he started with 13 cows and 1 bull. Now he has 30 bison. In doing so, he's helping save animals that were hunted almost to extinction 100 years ago.
For political reasons, to keep the Native Americans under control, bison herds were often slaughtered. Of the 60 million that are said to have existed, less than 1,000 survived.
The population in North America has now stabilized to an estimated 30,000. Harold feeds his bison nothing but water and hay, as they would eat in the wild. The low-fat meat is particularly popular with health-conscious customers. But for the First Nations, it had a much greater significance.
Food was the main interest, of course. The meat was largely dried so it could be preserved for the winter. Of course, the leather and the hides were used to make clothes, and the bones and horns were used for ornamental items. It was an all-round product.
It's hardly rained in 3 months. It's not just the animals' watering hole that's run dry. The wells have less and less water too. That's why Harold has to divide up the water well now.
At the moment it's quite hard here because there's not a lot of food left. The pasture's dry. We've not had any proper rainfall since April. Everything is brown. I have to start feeding them hay. Water is also a problem. The ponds have dried up. I have to fetch water from a lake to give the animals something to drink.
The water in his well is still enough. It's one of the hottest and driest summers of the last decades. There'll only be a few days of rain come September. Even after his retirement in 7 years, Harold Mix wants to carry on farming bison. As a hobby, his farm would have to be 10 times the size for him to make a living with it. A few weeks later, in October, when the air temperature is lower than the water temperature, a fine layer of fog forms every morning over the St. Lawrence River. The locals call it morning mist. It's a short-lived phenomenon. After just a few minutes, the sun has evaporated it. The cold temperatures don't just chase away the tourists. Most residents leave too. The heart of the Thousand Islands is hustling and bustling during the summer, but now in October, Alexandria Bay is very quiet. In Thousand Island Park opposite, the residents have shut up their homes ready for the winter. The cold nights also give them a special natural phenomenon. If the thermometer drops to below freezing in the night, the leaves of the yellow birch, red maple, northern red oak and limes change colors, resulting in a magnificent display. This fifth season's called Indian Summer. It's the start of the harvest season for Chuck Commander. Together with his companion Jerry, the canoe builders on the lookout for the right birch. It's an exclusive right of the First Nations as guardians of nature to cut down trees in the public forest.
Yeah, a little small, but we can get a nice little sheet out of it.
Chuck is a member of the Bear Clan of the Algonquin tribe, who settled here before the Mohawks and the Iroquois. Originally, they were a tribe of hunters.
Yeah, nice tree. It's almost big enough. Yes, that's yours. So that's 5 feet.
5 feet?
60 inches.
Give it a test.
Yeah.
The canoe builders need the birch rind, but it has to be stable and thick enough.
Borderline. It doesn't come apart when I make the twist, and we're looking at 3 millimeters, and this would be around 2 millimeters or less, even 1.5. It's almost good enough as long as we don't put that tremendous force from the wood on the bark. The concern is always that the bark is too thin, especially where the blemishes are on the tree, and that's a weak spot. And so we're hoping that the wood doesn't burst through on the bark. So that's why we look for thickness as well.
Luckily, they find it a few hundred meters further. The American First Nations are closely connected to nature. Before cutting down the tree, Chuck prays and offers a bit of tobacco. It's important to him to always give something back to nature. That's how he incorporates himself into the cycle.
I'm just thanking the Creator for the bounty that we're about to receive. I ask that we all stay safe. I thank my mother, the earth, for providing us with this. And at the same time, all the little insects living inside the bark, I ask for their forgiveness because I'm going to be killing their home, so to speak. No, nothing. Inquiring. The reason why we used birch bark because it was, well, plentiful back then. Natural, waterproof, lightweight, especially around here there was a lot of portaging. So it made it really ideal for portaging. Getting around all kind of lakes, streams, rivers, and that's why our people, as well as Jerry's people, use the birch bark canoe.
They'll use the rest for firewood. Nothing's wasted. Chuck and Jerry are happy they found what they were looking for so quickly today. That's not always the case.
It's very difficult to find now. When I was growing up in the 1970s, my grandparents used to tell me it was 1 out of every 200 trees. And today it'd be at 1 out of every 500, 1 out of every 1,000. Normally, I go far, 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours away. And I don't know if it's good bark or not. So I go there, I take a chance, I spend a lot of money to get there, and it's no good, well, okay. I learned a valuable lesson.
According to the Native American belief, birch trees filter toxins and pollutants out of the rainwater. That's why they consider the birch sacred. Because of increasing pollution, there are fewer and fewer birch trees. The men of the Thousand Islands National Park are doing their bit to prevent the pitch pine from going extinct.
I think the weather conditions should be good today.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm glad we got the right wind direction that we've been looking for.
They want to use the wind direction to set fire to part of an island to save the pine.
On a fire line, our personal protective equipment is very important. And so one of the bases of that in any wildland fire is the clothes that you wear. And that's typically a Nomex, which is a material that actually is flame retardant and protects the wearer in extreme heat conditions and from a fire line. And it also protects you from the sun. Fire lines are very hot. The second level protection is communication. So on all fire lines, we obviously have to communicate with other people on the fire line. And that's typically the firefighters across North America all operate as an entity and a team of 3 to 4 people in a tight unit.
Okay guys, so for today we're going to take a Mark III kit. So the pump and the kit that goes with it. If we could go with perhaps 2 bags of type A hose, Sheldon. Okay. 2 bags of type B hose. We'll grab a chainsaw as well.
The proper preparations and equipment are always vital. That's why everything has always gone well so far. They're heading to Camelot Island. They prepared a site for a controlled fire here 2 months ago so that the seeds of the endangered pitch pines have an easier time germinating. They want to use these fires to save this tree species from extinction.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive when you think about it, and certainly there is some trees that would perish really quickly if we had fires. But there is species of trees like pitch pine that need fire or something similar to fire to regenerate. So these stands of pitch pines, like the one we're in here today, there hadn't been a fire in a long time. So they're starting to disappear from the landscape. So they needed these fires to bring them back.
The rangers on Georgina Island want to investigate what positive influence fire can have on the development of nature and on the endangered pine in particular. They started a fire here 2 years ago. The last time they were here was half a year ago.
Well, these are doing quite well, Josh. What is this one?
Yeah, it's bristly sarsaparilla. They're really doing well after the fire. We didn't have any of these here before the fire at all. So they've just been sitting in the seed bank waiting for this.
It's incredible. They've gotten quite large since last year, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, they've really done well. This looks like a perfect spot if we can get some seeds to rain down here this year.
That's exactly it. The seeds of the pine cones are to develop well in the new soil. Each cone has around 100 seeds. After the fire, they're of better quality. In order to record the development of the vegetation precisely, they always put out a grid in the same spot. Before the fire, there was no pine here.
So we got our pitch pine, our seedling, doing really well in the corner here. We got the bristly sarsaparilla, which all came up after the fire. We didn't have any of that here beforehand. Stems, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7th in the corner. So 7 total stems, making up 10% of the total area. Very satisfied. Yeah, we've far exceeded our expectations in terms of the number of pitch pine seedlings. So that was our main goal, and we're really excited because we're going to finally have a new stand of pitch pine and a mixed age stand of pitch pine. But the nice surprise that we found beyond the pitch pine is there's a whole other community of plants that we didn't have on this island beforehand. So we've not only restored the pitch pine, we've restored an entire vegetation community.
The rangers from the national park have been successful. There'll be pitch pines in 1,000 islands in the future too. Canoe builder Chuck has arrived back in his open-air workshop.
14 feet. Measured 42 inches. Okay.
To stabilize and protect the thin white bark of the birch, Chuck will later clap the interior of the canoe with cedar wood. He splits it until it's light and flexible. He has to do it all by hand.
We tried using machines, and the machine that doesn't know when the grain goes like this, it goes right through. So when it does that, when you come to bend, that's where it's going to break. So by doing it this way, then if the grain goes in, it follows. So we don't have to worry about breaking. See, so now we're getting down to pretty good size here now.
He learned the art of building canoes from his grandfather when he was 12. Now he's proud to pass on this knowledge to the next generation.
We just do it for all the young people, just to get them back involved, back into their roots, and to really teach them this art, which is almost gone. Chuck is probably one of 6 canoe makers in Canada, and I think it's very important that the young people get to know and see this, so it won't be gone.
Many First Nations have retreated to reservations, but life there wasn't for Chuck. That's why he left his a few years ago and set up on his own as a canoe builder.
The red man, our original role in the medicine wheel was to take care of the land. That was taken from us. We were put on the little reserves. A lot of us are treaty Indians now. We don't even get to go out in the woods. By showing this to the young people, I find now they get a sense of pride. The feeling of despair is gone. There's hope. Now they get out in the woods and they work with the forestry to promote healthy woods, healthy forests. Because as one elder, he said, we don't own the woods, we don't own the land, we only inherit it from our kids.
It takes him more than a month to build a canoe. Each one sells for $14,000. He started with 2 a year. By the next year, he was commissioned for 7. Chuck maneuvers the finished canoe past the eddies. They're the result of huge underwater falls, plummeting up to 30 meters. This can produce dangerous currents. According to the First Nations legend, an ugly spirit lives here that drags people under. Chuck placates it with a sacrifice.
I laid down tobacco and I said some prayers to the Creator, to that being in the water, to protect the people that go by. Miigwech. Miigwech jam to do. And it didn't matter what culture you're from, white, red, black, yellow. I said it for all cultures because there's not only us that live here in this country, and so that would pertain to all the people that use that waterway.
In mid-October, the season on the water ends. Guests and residents gradually bring their boats back on land. A painting festival is taking place in Gananoque for the first time. Up to 40 different artists come. They'll spend 3 days painting on the islands, the harbour, and in the middle of town. The cultural highlight of autumn in the small Canadian community is a must for Susie Smith too. The publisher of the online magazine Thousand Islands Life wants to keep the small communities together and strengthen them across the border with her stories.
Gotten involved in other things?
Yes, the Choral Society, and the Catholic Funeral Choir. So music, but this is great for me because it's finally, you know, the visual arts is really my home. So I'm so glad that there's something happening now.
Great. These kind of events are really important for the communities in the Thousand Islands. We have a very short season. You know, July and August, everybody's here. And then they start to go home. And these kind of festivals that they have at this time of year allow people who live here to come and enjoy.
After her work is done, she heads back home to her own island. Susie's one of the last and first temporary residents on the Thousand Islands. Other islands have already been abandoned for the winter. Some owners even board up the windows on their cottage. Susie thinks this is the best season.
Oh, it's wonderful. You know why? We own the river. We own the river. It means we're the only ones that are on the river. And anybody that stays after Labor Day says they own the river, and it's great. It's quiet. We were considered river rats, I think, mainly because of our passion of the river and being involved in the community. I've always sort of laughed and thought that it was, if you were a river rat, you were a character, you know? You were either a fishing guide, you know, you worked on the river, you were a caretaker. Most of the people that are river rats are like that.
The preparations for the upcoming winter are beginning on the American side of the St. Lawrence River too. Caretaker Scott is picking up his winter project, a foldaway bed in Singer Castle. He's looking forward to the quiet months when he'll have a lot of time for such restoration projects.
I work out different projects throughout the winter. This is one of them. The other one is all the doors on the terrace are coming in to be stripped down and refinished. And then I'll work on this in between doing those. This will be my putter project. I'm not going to worry about racing and rushing to get this done. But the doors need to be done. They're looking horrible. Getting beat with the weather. All right, you guys ready? All right. All right, hang on, here come my wheels. Oh, that was easy.
It takes 3 weeks before he and the team will have the castle ready for winter. Then he'll be alone here for almost 6 months.
Nope, not a nightmare. We look around. It's nice seeing all the world disappear and not have to worry about the rest of the world. I enjoy the quiet.
But not the cold. The windows are old and not insulated. That's why he covers all the ones in his living area with perspex.
Keeping the cold air out tonight will be nice. It was a little chilly inside last night and this morning. I've been here for 13 years, and I'll be here until the day I die, hopefully. My son's been given instructions when I die, I get cremated and come back, and my ashes get spread around, so I can be the ghost. Every castle has to have a ghost.
In a few weeks' time, the ice and snow will cut the castle and the island off from the outside world. On the Canadian island of Sagastaweka, the preparations for Susie's annual little move are underway. Friends have come to help get the house ready for winter. Spending the winter on the island is too dangerous, especially for older people. That's why she spends the winter months in Florida.
It gets lonely after everybody leaves. And then also it gets a bit dangerous. If anything happens, there aren't many people around that you can call. The river will freeze, but it won't freeze solid everywhere. So you can't go back and forth to town unless you have a special, ice boat or a hovercraft. And it is dangerous. So I think for the sake of everybody's families, it's better if you stay on the mainland.
But first, they have to switch off the water, cover all the furniture to protect it from dust, and remove the china. Otherwise, birds and squirrels entering the property would wreak havoc. The journalist cannot wait to come back as soon as spring returns, as one of the first, of course.
I guess it's the passion of living on an island, and it's very, you can have your own solitude. You don't have to see people if you don't want to, and it's special. It's peaceful. Can't wait to get back, for sure. Just gonna, but close the door.
Shortly after Susie leaves her island, the Thousand Islands start their hibernation. Singer Castle is enveloped in ice and snow too. The river freezes over less and less these days. Stepping on the ice is life-threatening. But even now, the Thousand Islands reveal their breathtaking beauty. A natural wonder in North America.